All right, I wanted to talk some more about the ego. I did this whole talk about the new moon on the Path Ahead astrology forecast, but I feel like it's good to have a standalone talk, and we are in real time as the sun is coming up to oppose Pluto. One of the things that I've been trying to do more with these teachings is share some personal stuff with all of you because I am getting so much good feedback from you guys where you say, hey, when you shared this story about yourself, it really helped me to see some of my own stuff, or I felt like you were talking directly to me, or I felt like you were mirroring back situations that have happened in my own life. So I'm dedicated to doing that. And self disclosure for me is usually really uncomfortable. I'm really private, but we're all walking this road together, and we are all humans having this very similar incarnated experience. And so we might as well use what we've learned to help others see themselves, right? I mean, that's why we love memoir so much. That's why we love watching stories about people and even storytelling, hearing people explain things from their perspective. By the way, I'm Nafa Perkins of Electra Astrology. If you like my style and you want to work with me privately, you can find me at electraastrology.com. Make sure to like and subscribe. I release videos like this all the time, and they are evergreen, they are binge worthy, they are all designed to help you to see something different about yourself. If you find yourself called to a certain video in the feed, listen to it. It's probably your higher self directing you there because you need to hear exactly what it is. So I do Path Ahead astrology forecasts every Monday, and I have been releasing Astrology for Awakening, where I'm going through all of the facets of all of the sun signs. We are currently right now in Leo season. And you don't have to be a Leo. You don't have to be a sun sign of that particular zodiac sign to get value out of the teachings. We have all of the zodiac signs in our chart. We are all acting out those themes all day, every day. So there's a lot of really good information that you can listen to, put it on podcast style while you're on your walk or you're in your bath, and I promise you, you're going to learn something. So let's get into it. I have been noticing so much ego activity coming up. And I said this was going to happen. I'm recording in July of 2025. You might be listening to this in 3 years. So the timeline itself doesn't matter at all because we are all under the thumb of our own ego. And that is the sun in the sky. So your sun in your astrology chart is connected to your ego. The shadow side of the sun is where we want to be seen, we want to be validated, we want to be right. And the higher side of the sun, or what we're trying to evolve into, and listen, we're very imperfect at it. Nobody is ever going to be like, oh, I have no controlling ego, or I have no super ego, which is the inner critic. That's not a part of what's happening for us in this lifetime on Earth as humans, because the ego helps to direct us. It reminds us of what we want and what we're doing and who we are to some extent. It's also our conditioning, it's our history, it is how we wish to be perceived. I mean, that is also connected to the rising sign. But the sun and Mars are both identity planets, stars. So they go hand in hand. And identity is huge. When we feel unseen, it's a hit to our identity. When we feel celebrated and pedestaled, that's a positive hit to our identity. And so the higher side of the sun, what we're all really working toward, is seeing ourselves clearly, knowing it doesn't matter what somebody else has to say or what somebody else is doing. This is about us really resting securely in who we are, but it takes a lot of work. So what I've been noticing, so I've been seeing it in other people for sure, right? A lot of people that want to be seen and shown how important they are. And this shows up in people that want to correct you, that want to make sure that you know that what they have to say is right, that they are the expert, that they have some sort of intelligence or experience that is going to top yours. We do this with our ego, right? Our ego wants to be validated. It's like, hey, do you see how important I am? Do you know that I've done all of these things that have brought me to this place? Like, we all know that, right? And if you don't, let me explain it to you. When we backtrack and we look at our relationship to that part of us that wants to be seen, we go all the way back to our father and the father energy, right? And we wanted to be seen by our dad. We wanted him to lift us up in the air and laugh and have fun with us and look us in the eye and say, "You are so amazing. I love you so much. I'm so glad you're my child. Here's all of the things that I see about you. Here's what I want you to know about you." We want that. And a lot of us didn't get it. Or if we did get it, it was fleeting. It didn't last long enough. Or in worst case scenario, you got the opposite, where your dad was very critical and not around and not paying you any attention at all, or totally misperceiving you. You're so bad. Stop being so loud. Stop being such an attention hog, right? So we have all of these different relationships to that father energy that we wanted, that appreciation, that approval. Different than approval, though, right? It's more like that adoration that we wanted. And most of us, like I said, we maybe got some of it, or we didn't get enough of it, or it was the opposite. So when we're looking at our own ego and our own desire to be seen, to be heard, to be validated, to be important, a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, often, yeah, look back to your relationship with your dad. So here's what I'm noticing. There's somebody in my life that is really triggering me right now around the whole ego thing. I feel like they enter every conversation as this big egoic presence of, "I'm right. Here's how I do it. Here's what I would say. You're not spot on there. You need to do it this way instead." And every time it's like, I'm twitching. And so I notice my own ego is very triggered. My ego now wants to jump in and engage and say, "I don't think you're right. That's not what I think. That's not how I would do it. That's not my experience." And so I'm noticing, I'm using my inner witness. I'm pulling out and I'm noticing. And this is something I'm always encouraging you guys to do, is to pull out of the heart of the situation and just see with bigger perspective, like, what's happening. Oh, my ego is engaged with his ego, right? And it's like every time, if you want some tips and tricks for how to know that your ego is engaged, when you feel like you need to get in there and argue about something, or when you feel like you need to slide in and like make sure everybody knows, like, "I know this thing too," or, here's what I think, that is your ego coming in and getting involved. And in the I Ching, which is one of my favorite oracle tools, by the way, it's a little complicated to use sometimes because you have to throw coins, but the I Ching talks a lot about how our ego is like our inferior. If we are a higher self, and even above the higher self is the creative or God or the sage, and I would even say it's not above. It's like the higher self connected with God. God isn't taking time to listen to the smaller self, the inferior self that says, "I want you to pay attention to me." So it reminds me of a story. I was in this psychological spiritual school for a number of years, and we dove into a lot of this stuff on a deep level. One day we were doing, it was Halloween, and everyone had shown up in their costumes, and we were having a little talent show, and just for fun. It was all very impromptu. But a woman did a little skit that has stuck with me to this day. She has her hair, she has a wig on that's braided. So she looks like a little girl, and she comes skipping across the stage and she says, "Daddy, Daddy, look at me." And she stops for a second and then, "Daddy, Daddy, look at me." And she stops, and then all of a sudden she pulls out a witch hat from behind her back and puts it on her head. And she says, "Daddy, Daddy, look at me." And I've always remembered that because that is so reminiscent of the ego, isn't it? It's like, "Do you guys see me? Do you see how amazing and important I am?" And, "Oh my God, you don't see me. Like, pay attention to me." So after listening to this talk, begin to kind of watch that in yourself. That little part of you that wants the attention and that feels very insecure, feels like, does anybody see me? Am I invisible? Right? Because if we think about the sun in astrology, what happens when the sun is invisible? When in the sky, like it's cloudy and in a lot of places it's cold and it's dark. And those things all make us a little fearful. Like, wait a minute, where's the light? Where is my attention? Where is my affection? Where is my adoration? And then we go seeking it. And a lot of times we go seeking it through these ways that end up feeling really icky. So the part of you that's like, I know more than you, or like, stop telling me what to do. Like, that is the part of you that means that your ego has been activated. Now, there's so many people that are giving information on the planet right now, which is great. It is indicative of an awakening where people are trying to connect in or find something greater than themselves. But what I have noticed in my personal experience, and I shared a little bit about this in my Path Ahead forecast, where I talked about the life coaching company that I had been a part of that had a leader that was really brilliant and was quite tapped into some of these personal development techniques and was able to teach them in a way that was pretty mind blowing. But their ego definitely got the best of them because they sold out all of the people that they were helping and all of the future people that they could have helped by having this connection. They sold everybody out by getting greedy and wanting more money and more fame and more prestige. Okay. So we all do this in a way, like we sell out the part of us that is grounded and stable and knows who we are. We sell that part out for wanting more money, more prestige, more attention. So you want to be really mindful right now of the people that you're listening to. And of course, this is my opinion. So you're going to have to tune into your own gut, which I always say, like, I'm not the end all be all for this information. I'm not the only one talking about this. If you resonate with the way that I talk about things, great. I'm so glad you're here. I know there are thousands of you that I work with every single year, one on one, and you guys resonate with the teachings. Great, perfect. But I am not the person that's going to say it's my way. My way is the only way, and my way is the right way. And when you come across a teacher or a person that says those things, that's a red flag that their ego has come in and gotten in the way. Their ego wants more attention, more validation, what have you. And we all have ego issues. We do. But if you're going to sit there and say, I'm the only one that knows, then you have ego issues that really need to be worked on. And so this is where we kind of look at that sun, right, which is me and who I really am. And do I see myself clearly? Because when we see ourselves clearly, we know, okay, my ego has shown up. My ego wants a little more attention, or my ego feels like more money would be more validating, or more followers, or more views, or whatever. It's like the little version of us that's like, Daddy, Daddy, look at me. So we can bring Mars into this conversation too. I mentioned Mars earlier, and Mars is another identity planet. And Mars is all about us trusting our gut. So we know that we're entering into a multi-year period where Neptune and Saturn are going to be traveling through Aries, which is a sign that Mars rules. And so we're cultivating that connection to our gut. So regardless of who you're talking to, whether it's a friend, a parent, a boss, a teacher, somebody on YouTube, they will say something. By the way, the news, right? The mainstream media or anybody on social media, I should say that too. They will say something, and it's very in vogue right now to say it like, I'm the expert. This is how you do it. Everybody else is wrong and I'm right. And you got to follow my thing and you got to comment this thing and you got to get this link. And I'm going to give you the information that is proprietary to me because I'm special. Great. Some of those people have amazing things. I've learned a lot from a lot of people. And we still have to question whether something feels accurate and right to us. And that is part of knowing yourself. That is part of the deep sun work. is I am cultivating a sense of safety and security and groundedness through knowing myself. And when I am positively attuned to myself, then I know when people are out there trying to convince me of something that doesn't feel true, or I can discern when their ego has entered the building or when their super ego, their inner critic, and that's a whole other conversation, but that also goes along with this. Our inner critics are ruthless, and our inner critics like to control us and also other people. It's another ding, ding, ding when you notice that you're sitting in judgment. So this person that I mentioned earlier that's like triggering me. Ah. Every time I see a message come through from this person, I'm like, oh, here we go again. Here we go. Oh, what are they going to say this time? Okay, well, that's my inner critic, right? It's also my ego. Everyone's shown up at the party. And so, my job as a king, we talk about the sun being the king of our kingdom. My job as a king that is working to master the energy of emotions, the energy of abundance, the energy of thoughts, and the energy of actions. My inner king has to say, look, step away from the reactivity for a minute. Step away from the ego, the lower self, the inferior, as the I Ching says. Step away. Step away from the judgment of that advisor, which is the Saturn advisor that comes in and says, you should be doing this a certain way. This is wrong. This is right. Follow my rules. Step away. Take a deep breath. Witness. A good king stops to assess the situation before going into reactivity. And that's what we're working on. And it's up really loud for all of us right now. Everybody that I've talked to recently has some sort of, dig that's happening, if not 10. So we're all here walking the path together. Nobody has all the information. Nobody is always right. Nobody has experienced all of the things. And even if they have, we are beholden to our perception. We are each here doing a different soul life. We don't exactly know what our soul missions are. We can get a really good idea through astrology or through readings with different kinds of practitioners, Akashic records, etc. But the truth is, we don't really know. We have to trust what feels right. What is the information that I'm going to keep, and what is the information that I'm going to let go of? And so for me, my work this week with this person that feels like they want to keep coming in and like telling me that they have all of the information. Um, Grain of salt, right? Taking it with a grain of salt. I know that their information comes from the heart, which is connected to the sun, which is connected to our ego. And when the heart gets blocked, when that pure heart energy that says, I just want to be with you, I just want to connect with you. And we just wanted to connect with our dads. We just wanted him. We wanted him with us, paying attention to us. But when we didn't get that, and we have all this conditioning, all this dirt was thrown onto the heart area, that's when we notice that that ego comes in and is trying to manage. And by the way, I just want to throw in a caveat here. Every once in a while, when I share a personal story, I will have somebody come to me and say, you weren't talking about me, were you? No, I am definitely not sharing stories about people that would ever be listening to this podcast. This person that has been, like I said, really intent, probably completely unconsciously on their part, of top dogging me and triggering my ego, doesn't even know what I do for a living. They don't even know that this podcast exists. And we could say this is like sort of a regular old person that I am having conversations with right now as I'm doing some estate planning. But I just wanted to throw that in there. So we can listen to people, we can hear them, but we have to discern what feels right to us. Which of this person's information am I going to listen to? And which do I need to discard? And these triggers are really valuable. They are the work. Because if we're paying attention to all of the things that keep coming through, I've been saying this to everybody that's gotten a reading this week. So if that is you and you're hearing this, here's repetition for you. Universe brings you repetition so that you remember it. Everything that shows up right now is giving you a piece of the puzzle of how to proceed. For me, what do I need to work on this week? Well, clearly, I need to work on trusting myself and realizing that it doesn't matter if somebody is saying a bunch of stuff to me that I disagree with. I don't have to argue with them about it. I can look at that internal part of me that says, why is this so uncomfortable? Why am I struggling with this so much? And of course, it goes back to childhood and probably past lives. But this is a lifetime where I'm learning how to trust myself. And probably the same for you. North Node is in Pisces. We're learning to trust ourselves. We're learning to trust that everything that comes through holds a piece of the puzzle, an important piece of the puzzle. So, as you progress through the next week after listening to this talk, be watching that egoic part of yourself that says, I am very triggered because I'm not getting enough attention. Or I don't feel intelligent enough. I don't feel valuable enough. I'm afraid that nobody sees me. And so here are all the things that I'm going to do to try to make sure people see me. Here's all the song and dance and all of that I'm going to do. And when you find yourself there, this is your mindfulness bell to see yourself like, wow, actually, I really like who I've become. I've really made it through a lot of hard experiences. And I know that what I'm going through right now also feels hard, but I'm here for it. And I'm a more stable, secure, intelligent, wise, grounded version of myself now than I've ever been. And I appreciate that. And therefore, I don't really need other people out there to validate me quite as hard as I have in the past. And that goes for whether you're the one that's like trying to make everybody pay attention to you, or there's someone that's in your field that's like, hey, meet my ego. My ego is here to have a conversation, right? So either way, we're just practicing like pulling back. I'm going to be the king that sits on my throne, that takes time to assess, that examines my own perception of the situation, and then zooms out and looks at it through many different perspectives before I act. All right. I hope this was helpful. I shall see you all soon.